Hello and welcome to another session of 1MD Live. What a timely session. This is a really important session amidst the pandemic when everybody is feeling the heat and the mental health is at the forefront of this discussion. So I would like to ask Dr. Shetty to please introduce our esteemed panel from across India. We have mental health experts from different quarters with amazingly different experiences. So, Dr. Shetty, please go ahead and give their introduction. Thank you.
Namaskar, everybody, people from across the globe and from India. We're all the middle of a pandemic. Mumbai, especially, Maharashtra has 1/3 of the cases. Ahmedabad, Indore, Delhi, and so many places. And remember one thing, my dear friends, that a disaster affects the body and that is visible, but disaster affects the mind and that is invisible. I've had the experience of working across disasters at Latur after the earthquake, at Kandla after the cyclone, at the riot affected Gujarat after the communal riots. And I have seen policies, governance only believe that once the person is rehabilitated physically, which means the houses are built, the compensation is given, everything's over. I have not seen a long-term rehabilitation package ever in any disasters in our country. After this corona pandemic, Fear is the Key is the title of a book. I forget whether it was Alistair MacLean or James Hadley Chase. But fear is predominant. Fear is also a disaster. And what is the backdrop our country has been in just before the disaster? Just to remind you all, my dear friends, a few months ago, the Global Burden of Disease released a report in India, along with the government of India, that 1 out of 7 Indians are mentally ill. 1 out of 7. And they said 20 crore Indians in India are mentally ill. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, Sydney, you'll remember, NIMANS came up with the epidemiological data for India, which means 1 out of 8 to 1 out of 9, they said, are mentally ill. 15 crore Indians need immediate psychiatric treatment. And if you look at NCRB data, latest, and they have said many things, but 3 data points I would like to share with every Indian. The country wants to know. 1 out of 5 people who end their lives by suicide are daily wage laborers. This data point should come to your mind when you see migrants walking to their homes. 1 out of 3 reasons for ending their lives in India is family problems, and in this background we have this disaster. WHO has said that we are in the midst of a mental health emergency, and all of us here, wonderful psychiatrists and a psychologist across the country who have been working for decades, years, with the people, not only in the clinic. They are people-based psychiatrists and student-based psychologists. And you can see all of them smiling, they're enjoying their work, and that is something which is so beautiful. And today, we start now, and we don't know when we will end, because we are going to answer every question of the audience, each and every question of the audience. And we have chosen a young, bright brigade, unlike me, who's now, it's black, but its white hairs are hidden beneath. We have
there is wisdom.
On my left, on your right,
nobody can get.
Selfpity Acharya. Give her a big clap wherever you're sitting.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
She is a clinical psychologist and works with hundreds of students at IIT Kharagpur. Extremely knowledgeable, extremely wise. She works on the ground with students with problems in different areas of life. She works together with the dean and the faculty, and she's a bridge between the faculty and the students, at the same time working individually and in groups with the students, and a fantastic psychologist. I've had the opportunity to be in touch with her for some time, and I find her wisdom very beautiful, and she has samanata. In Hindi, we say equanimity. On her left and on my right is Sidney Moirang Them. Sorry, Sidney, if I'm wrong in the
It's
pronunciation, but I'm
absolutely
close.
fine,
I'm
sir.
very close. Sidney is a very interesting psychiatrist. He's an associate professor of psychiatry at Niman, but he belongs to Manipur. He's a Manipuri, and he has a lot of experience with the cultural wisdom of the country, along with wisdom in mental health. From Manipur, he is now in Bangalore and has the experience of both the states and the Northeast, which is a very happening place today. The best quiz to ask people is name the states of the Northeast, seven sisters and one brother. And if you're able to name it in one go, then I give you a chocolate as an award. It's not easy. Very few people are able to name the states of the Northeast. And Sidnam comes from the beautiful place, Manipur, which each one of us should visit once in our lifetime. Above him, Anshul Mahajan. Anshul Mahajan breathes psychiatry, dreams psychiatry, and talks psychiatry. I've seen his umpteen number of videos. I don't think he sits quietly. वीडियो पे वीडियो और वो सभी पूरे जनता को ज्ञान देने के लिए सुबह से शाम तक तत्पर रहते हैं और बहुत अच्छा लगता है अंशुल ये देखकर आपकी
Thank you,
एंथुसियाज्म,
sir.
कमिटमेंट और आपकी आपकी bright wisdom which is seen in every video. He is there on Instagram either with his wife or with the mental health issues, and he is really helping hard to break the stigma and also to create mental health awareness so that our mentally reach help very early. Fantastic work, Anshul. And the last but
Thank
not the least, Fabian Almeida. Give all of them a great clap. All of them. I know you must be feeling weird, no, but we're all used to big halls, no, Fabian, Anshul, Debarati, and Sydney. You're used to this clapping, so you can clap inside your house and build the mood. And Fabian has been working with the young across India. He goes to Kuwait. He takes workshops for teachers, students, works with the kids all the time, and he has a program every week which he's going to share in our show. And Fabian is a happening psychiatrist. So these guys whom you see on the screen, Fabian, Anshul, Debarati, and Sydney, are leaders of mental health in the country. And that's what is the best description which I can give to this entire panel. So what we are going to do is we're going to talk about adult mental health across time. And I started by saying that fear is the most important symptom. And I'll share an anecdote, and then they'll start with their opening comments. There was a school who was asked, "Will you give us your school for quarantine?" The school is a very powerful school in the city of Bombay. They almost refused. They said, "We'll ask our parents." In the sense, they instigated the parents who said no. The people in the area said no. The municipal corporator, the MLA said no. Now, if you view this entire story, entire event with the prism of right and wrong, good and bad, you will say selfish, not helping, not being part of the entire process of fighting against disaster. But if you view this through the eyes of mental health, through the eyes of mental illness and mental health, then I would say there's a lot of fear which can convert itself to paranoia and anxiety, which means if there's a school across my house with a lot of COVID victims, the virus can fly and enter my house. The virus can be a drone and reach my house. The virus can actually practice athletics and a long jump and reach my house. So, my dear friends, when people are angry at COVID victims, when people are angry at doctors, it is not only right and wrong, good and bad, it's also about fear which converts itself into paranoia and you are scared. And that is something we need to really look at. Having said this, I'll ask Fabian to make your opening comments.
Well, good evening, everybody. And I come from Mumbai. And Mumbai presently is the hot spot. The COVID capital is Maharashtra. In that, we are the
Audible.
red zone. And there are lots of problems that people are facing with flattening the curve here in Mumbai. So, with this in mind, we have realized that there is a lot of work to do, not only for the physicians, but the psychiatrists. I would like to consider the psychiatrists as a COVID warrior at this point of time, because it's not only about the
Hello.
frontline warriors, but it is the virus which is now being superseded by fear. Fear indeed is a bigger virus, and therefore our work has increased, and the due for psychiatry is now much more. From getting step motherly treatment for psychiatry, now psychiatry is in the limelight, and we need to help people with their anxiety, their fear, and so much more. That I feel is our responsibility as psychiatrists. And together we make a difference, and that's why we are all here.
What are common trends you see, Sabian? What is the most striking thing you have seen in the last 2 months as far as mental health is concerned?
Yes, sir. Sir, it has been anxiety, not being able to recognize where that anxiety is now more than usual. We're all anxious, and I would be lying to say if I am not anxious as well. But when is that anxiety increasing to become pathological? When it is taking away my peace of mind, my sleep, my ability to make decisions, or my ability to have a good balanced day, then I think I must recognize the red flag of anxiety. When people are not able to recognize the red flag of anxiety, that has opened the gates to much bigger mental health problems. And this has been a trend where we are trying to work on. Anxiety has been widespread, and we need to be able to pick up the red flags where it's turning pathological.
Absolutely. I think what you said is beautiful. It's an intangible epidemic, unimaginable and invisible. And believe me, the coronavirus is innocent. It did not have any intentions to create terror in the world. It was just there, got released by whatever reason, and the fact that human beings touch it and inhale it and then it spreads. Devrati, do you want to make some opening comments? You work with
Yes,
students all the time.
yes, thank you, sir. As you know, as you all know, that I am from West Bengal. So the whole world is now terrorized with this COVID-19. With that, another terror has come to our state, unfortunately, and that is the super cyclone Amphan. So our condition here is really very bad, and this is very challenging situation because you have to understand that the principles of managing these two problems is altogether very contradictory to each other. um, uh, anyway, so I am originally from Kolkata, but currently I'm working in IIT Kharagpur as a clinical psychologist for last 8 years. So here, after the lockdown started, I mostly work with young adults, the students here. So after when this lockdown 1 and 2 was there, that time students didn't react much. They were okay with it. They were kind of coping. But when this lockdown 3 started, their agitations also started to increase. And a lot of reports we are getting from different hostels here. Around 22 hostels are there, boys or girls ka milake. So we are getting a number of calls from students, and they are having psychotic episodes too. So what we did, that we started to go to hostels to interact with the students face to face, to understand that what kind of problems they are facing. So what we found
Absolutely,
mostly.
absolutely.
Yes, sir. So mostly we found that all the students, most of the students wants to go home, but they cannot go home. I mean, they are afraid because this quarantine issue is there. If they go to their states and come back, so 15 days, around 1 month of quarantine period will be there. There are students who are final year who already placed, have jobs, so they don't know what will happen. So they are basically very much uncertain about their future. So these things we are seeing here.
Absolutely, Anela. And I enjoyed that small Hindi word which you used in between. It would be so nice because when you use Hindi and English, it reaches the entire country. And so beautiful. I
Usually
think
with students we talk like this.
very
They
nice. You should
prefer.
talk their language. And I'm really very sorry to see that Calcutta and West Bengal have been affected by a double disaster. The second one is as bad as that, and they're still recuperating from their losses, and they're still coming back to normal. And you have been staying away from your husband, and you have been singing that old Hindi song. Huh? Kaame
Well,
kaha? How do you feel?
but Yeah, I'm more worried about my 4-year-old kid that she's away
Uh-huh.
from her father for last two
Okay.
months, more than 2 months.
Uh-huh. Don't lie. How do you feel when being away from your husband? And how does he feel? And how is he coping? He's a psychiatrist and you're a psychologist. So both of you are equipped to tell the world how to cope when you're separated.
Yes, I think I'm more positive. I try to give him more positive energy. He sometimes gets upset because he's all working in a medical college and that has become turned to a COVID hospital. So he always
Yeah.
worried about us and his family too.
Thank you for that. Small tip for the entire world. अंशुल महाजन, आप लुधियाना में क्या कर रहे हो? पंजाब में भी केसेस बहुत बढ़ रहे हैं. And you cannot stay at home at all. I know how you are.
So I would like to start my comment like it's not a story now. It has become a saga. The story starts from the hustle bustle of the clinics, which was suddenly abandoned by lockdown or by Janta curfew. So the mental disorders which were hidden, like insecurity, anxiety, depression, fear, mental illness, emotional disturbance, they are now accelerated. So what is the fuel behind this? Everybody knows is the coronavirus. Initially, people were people were having a fear of coronavirus infection. Now, presently, if I talk, is the basic thing they are fighting for: roti, kapda, and makan. And so it's a really pain and suffering for which set of population? It's the poor people, the daily wage workers who don't have any insurance, who don't have any fixed source of income. And this thing has never happened in past few decades. Nobody knows when this will be over. So it's a suffering from mankind. It is a disaster for medical, social, psychological, and economic disaster, sir. From young to old, it has created havoc, sir. Emotional turmoil, sir.
Absolutely, Anshul. Absolutely. You want to say something more?
No, sir, thank you.
Okay. I think I have been also saying, Anshul, that mental health is not only about feelings, about REBT, about medications. Mental health is also about food. It's not only about feelings; it's also about food. For the poor, if he gets his meal, and his mental health is much better, along with all other things which we need to do. And a lot of people express a lot of guilt of being not being able to help the poor because they're all locked down. And we had a long debate on this on the show. We'll come back to that later. Sydney Morantham, am I right this time?
Yes, sir. Correct,
So
100%.
happy to be with all of you. Yeah, go ahead, Sydney.
Sir, I will just,
Associate Professor in Psychiatry. Niman,
sir,
go ahead.
for you, I'm just one of your, what to call, proxy students. I would consider myself that. Okay, sir, this one. I will just take away, start with fear where you just left behind. The whole world, the country in particular, is fighting a war. It's a pandemic, so you can't call that this is something not to be, it's not serious, it will go away, ho jayega, not like that, right? So what I believe is, when you fight a war, a limited war or a large scale war, you need to control one major thing. If your team has to win, or if your team has to sustain fighting, that is fear and cowardice. Fear is contagious, it spreads very, very quickly, very quickly. So controlling those fears, either with information, by sharing with them, becomes paramount important. I work in an institute which is also about a medical institute as well as a teaching hospital. We have 90 residents. We have around 30 senior residents in psychiatry alone. So it's a big team. But 2020 is not the year that we predict what it would be in January. January was different. Then, things start changing from February. Then March hit us. So you are, or every one of us, we will be wrong if we say that I'm not affected. Probably the person is going to be superhuman or super good when they say we are not affected, because I believe we are all. I'm also affected. I won't. There is nothing to lie about it. I mean, many of us were unprepared. So when it comes to managing a hospital or managing a small team, controlling or trying to dispel the fear or the apprehension of your teammates becomes paramount importance. So that is what I would also share, the same situation which Devratri has faced in IIT Kharagpur, that you need to address the concerns of your juniors. here I'm talking about the junior residents, the senior residents, or the people, the nursing team who's actually doing the work frontline. We as consultant, or either because of our position, you are not exposed all the time. So our experience or my experience is that if you stand with your team, no matter how much things are uncertain, then the morale keeps on going. When the first lockdown happened, even though we are a national institute, we were also under-equipped like any other institute in the country or all over. PPs were missing, masks were not readily available, so there is always an apprehension. How are we going to fight this pandemic? How do we deal with something which we really don't know? First, the WHO says that no contagion, then the advisory keeps changing, then finally the mask was made mandatory. So maintaining the team spirit was a challenge. We had a lot of issues on hand. We had a lot of setbacks. But what I found to be something which we found it useful here is being transparent with your team, being transparent with the patient that comes to you and sick to you, because they will have expectations, because when you are in a hospital or a hospital of this, they will expect that you will find every solution for them. I mean, it is impossible. I mean, there are a lot of things where we as a physician or as an administrator can't do. I'll just give you a simple example before we start further. uh, a family came from another state. They were saying कि सर होटल बंद हो गया, खाना नहीं मिल रहा है, क्या आप हम लोग को एडमिट कर सकते हो? I had no answer for it, because ideally they don't warrant an admission. So should I take a what called a human approach and admit them because that is what seems so nice, or should I be a little bit more rational, because admitting them also entitles that they will be exposed to an infection inadvertently that might have happened. So we had a lot of clinical dilemmas, and it's a learning curve. I mean, we can't say that we have reached the third stage of the pandemic, so it's only a downhill now on. I think we have to evolve ourselves. We have to acquire new knowledges, share information with our colleague. There is no one size fit all formula. It has to be customized for the place. I work in an institute where I have a lot of hands around. The rest of our panelists, we are all individual guys who face everything alone for themselves. So I cannot, sit from my high chair and say that, okay, this is how I do, so this is how you should do. No, it doesn't happen like that. So it has to be customized, transparency to be there, and our job here is disseminating information which is as accurate as again. And I would say maintaining honesty by saying that yes, there are certain things I don't know. Maybe we'll look further. So this is my thing.
What did you do to that patient who wanted an admission?
Sir, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. So, but I tried to arrange, or rather, I arranged a small dharmsala nearby, which were economical for them. So those are things which I can do within my limited abilities. Because when you say admit, the attenders were not young; they were elderly. So on a humanitarian ground, I am going to put two other people at risk who are going to be caregiver when they go back. So I feel
Absolutely.
that
I think this is an existential dilemma which you had, and we all face this existential dilemma. I'm working from day one. My dear friends, I'm not stayed at home. COVID hospital and my clinic, and sometimes my patients come, you also look very scared. And they told me that, and I said, yes, I'm also scared like you, and I'm a human being like you. We are not immune to the illnesses we treat and the things we heal, and that I think is very important. Fabian, you had a case to discuss. I would like to start with you. You
Yes,
have the case with you now.
right. Uh, I think this brings out the fact that the darkest corner is just beneath the lamp. Sometimes, uh, I had this call from a friend once during the lockdown, early 3:30 in the morning, and he mentioned to me that he has overdosed with 25 tablets, and now he does not know what to do. He was away from me. I am in Kalyan. He's in Thana, and it was 3:30 in the morning. None of us could manage. He's one among the friends of our group, and none of us could manage to do something for him at that point of time. But looking back, I realize that this is a friend who was going through a broken marriage, and there was no resolution happening between him and his wife. This is the guy who was driving an Ola, and because of the lockdown, the Ola was not functioning. So even financially, he was having a problem. And then the
Sorry to interrupt you,
lockdown.
Fabian.
Yes,
Sorry to interrupt you. Which means he had a disaster happening in his personal life and
yes.
compounded with the lockdown.
Absolutely, absolutely. But we failed to take this seriously when he mentioned bore ho gaya aur pata nahi jeene ka man nahi karta hai. So sometimes we are looking after our patients, we are looking beyond, but those around us, our family and friends, maybe we may fail to take them seriously. When this happened, then we had to get finally his wife to come and help from another place with her brother. We phoned the police, we got an ambulance, asked him to keep the door open because he passed off in a few minutes after that and got him out. So this also shows, as you said, compounded disaster. The lockdown, the anxiety, the corona, these are all building blocks to having something like a suicidal thought. And when it finally happens, we need to intervene. There are many more people
Audible
like
ही नहीं
this.
है आवाज.
Who are there are many more people who are contemplating suicide like this. And if we can intervene at the right moment, they don't have to go all the 9 yards. So we have to be able to make people understand and pick up these signs in the family, among friends, and especially those who are alone. This was a youngster, 33 years old, who was staying alone and who could not fight his battle alone. So these are factors, co-factors that go not only the fear of the virus, but other things that are compounded with the situation at hand.
Fabian, you mean to say that when you hear a symptom, you should always believe that there's a story beneath?
Yes, I think what we see is the tip of the iceberg. And there's much more beyond and before, which we must sensitize ourselves to understanding and taking care about. And we must also
So,
sensitize caregivers.
so when you see such a case where there is a separation and a disaster, and you see a story beneath the symptom, do you attack the symptom or do you heal the story?
I think both are equally important because everyone wants a happy ending at the end of the story. So the symptoms are giving you the intensity of the story. Picking up the symptoms are very, very important. There may be so many others with the same story, but they don't land up like this with this end. Therefore, picking up the symptoms is important, and that can help you change the end of the story.
So, what are the simple tips you gave him for day to day life around the time you were counseling
Right.
him?
After everything came through, he was back to staying alone. Then, what we realized, what is important, as we always say, people talk about social distancing, but that's wrong. That's physical distancing, what is important. We need social proximity. We need to be, man is a social animal, and therefore we need to be in connection with our family and friends. There is no need to fight this battle alone. You need virtual connectivity. We need to be in contact, our phone, our video calls that are there with people who matter to us, keeping ourselves occupied during the day. We didn't want him to spend time brooding about what life has to offer to him. No matter what life is offering, it is up to him to make the change that is there. So while we supplemented him with anti anxiety and antidepressants, we also gave him the ability to change the course of his life, to add structure and substance to his day, to be able to connect with others, to be able to find other skills that he can learn now rather than just sit at home saying that he cannot drive the Ola. He's taken an online course now and helping himself to learn better, preparing that things may be even worse later. So we need to tell them these things. You give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime.
Absolutely. So when you were actually helping him to access resources around him, so that it's not you and me who's going to help him, but things around tools and resources. What are the blocks people have generally when they are asked to also access resources? When you open their eyes to resources around them for their own mental health.
Yes, sometimes self pity is a real killer. You know, why are people, why does my life? He expected things to change after this happened, and his life would just, his wife would just walk back into his life, which didn't happen at all. Right? So, in spite of what happens, people are not going to be kind to you. You need to change things for your own self in your life. The blocks come from within oneself sometimes, expecting others to lend a helping hand, to be kind, to be cooperative, to be sympathetic, which just may not happen. I think Mumbai is a busy place and a lot of people are busy putting out their own fires. तेरी कहानी मेरी कहानी सबकी कहानी चलते जा रही है तो मैं तुम्हारे लिए क्या कर सकता हूँ? I may not be able to help you. And in this selfish world, I still want to exist and I still have to care for myself. Taking the onus upon himself is what we were teaching him for.
So when you deal with such people, what are the most difficult emotions which present to us, and how do we handle those emotions? Are there different ways? Is there only one way, or there are a million ways?
You have to start with one at least. You have to start with the simplest. There's a lot of loneliness, there's a lot of emptiness, and there's a lot of nothingness attached to themselves because of the situation. I am equal to the situation is what most people see. So, me without my wife is equal to this is not the way we need to see it. Me is equal to me, even in spite of not having my wife and child along with me. Building up the blocks for me, my own self esteem, seeing value in myself. I am somebody's son. I am somebody's employee. I can reach out and help someone else. I always ask people to do something for others so that they begin to see something within themselves in all that nothingness. They are helpless and they believe they can't do anything for others. But when they reach out to others, their self esteem tends to increase. Somewhere, this builds up the building blocks for endorphins, the happy hormones, and this can help them. Shifting focus onto the self rather than the surrounding has always helped. And therefore, the building blocks are within themselves. That's what they have to
So
pick
you
up the pieces
so
from.
you help them to look within, as Dr. Chandra Prakash Bedi in one of the shows said. We have invented binoculars. We have invented long
That's the most.
telescopes, but we still have to invent something wherein we can look within, and that's something beautiful. Also,
And
what are the don'ts? What How did you explore inappropriate behaviors which he needs to avoid? Alcohol, tobacco is extremely common among that profession.
absolutely, absolutely.
Boredom is worse than depression. Handling boredom is so important. Handling
Loneliness.
loneliness is so important. How did you manage the don'ts?
Yes, the loneliness, for example, you need not be alone. Like you always say, solitude is a good place to visit, but never a
Bad
good
place to
place to
stay.
stay. Yes, quote unquote, Dr. Hari Shetty. Yes, so that is what we also got him to understand that yes, you are alone, but you need not be lonely. Yet you need to reach out, you need to pick up your skills, you need to find your building blocks. Fear, anxiety, sadness, all of this can stem from within you, but you have to get yourself in the driver's seat. Do your exercise every day. Go beyond the limit of people want to feel better and then do the exercise, then have a better day. But we always tell them that start somewhere and you will begin to feel better. That is how it works usually. So, not to stay
Absolutely,
alone too
absolutely.
much, reach out and connect.
And I also tell such people, Fabian, that just like angioplasty saves the life of a person having a heart attack, yoga will save you from corona, because yoga improves immunity, exercise improves immunity, and it's very important to understand that yoga
True.
and exercise are not generic terms anymore today. They are
Right.
they are special tools which each one of us has to use. And my dear friends, I exercise every day inside my house. And you also
Excellent.
said that if he gets the meaning in life, the mood also improves. So I also have seen so many people who have gone to help others, and their loneliness and all those small issues in their life daily went away. So beautifully said.
Just
Lastly,
okay.
my dear Fabian, did you see any myths coming up in such patients, in mentally ill patients, or those who are psychologically unwell? There are so many myths. So when you treat
Yes.
such people who have a double disaster, a relationship with your spouse or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, and a relationship with a virus, so what myths come up?
I think the myth that usually comes up is that this is a already scripted story for me. If you have a wife that leaves you, if this is what happens, I cannot be happy and life is not going to get any better. This is the myth that they have in their minds. We have to break that myth for themselves. They don't need to think that life has to continue the way it was. It is full of twists and turns, full of surprises, and we can help them to get the best out of themselves for their life. With what you said about yoga, sir, and exercise, I add two more things. I add auto suggestion and visualization. These are simple 10-minute exercises that I ask my patients to do, visualizing themselves the way they want to see themselves and their lives so that they feel better and they can see themselves in a better space. And auto suggestion, where they have positive affirmations set to themselves by themselves. And that has helped them very often.
Absolutely, and what you said about yoga, as Harvard School says, yoga, the pranayam helps you to align the parasympathetic and the sympathetic, and that really is very good. Also, what is important when we see such cases is that uh, the engagement has to continue, and there can be times when the person might get upset with the engagement, but see that the engagement continues. And what are the things which you will watch in that patient in the future, in that person in the future?
Yes, we need to continue to see and monitor their connectivity, their sense of loneliness. We need to be careful that they don't get back to habits like alcohol and cigarettes and tobacco, which becomes a sort of a friend, a pseudo friend for them to make it through this rough journey. We need to know their connections. We need to know whether they're keeping up with their hobbies and exercise. So, supervising and being in connection with them is an important thing. We can't just help them and then think that things would take its own course for the better. We need to supervise, we need to intervene, we need to do a check, probably the first week, the second week, and then the third week, and that way gradually let them through. And also having a sort of buddy system. So we have two or three other people who feel responsible for him to connect, because he may not do all the connecting all the time, or somebody else cannot take the complete responsibility. So a shared responsibility of a person like this could be very helpful in these times. We all suffer from burnout, and even caregiver burnout is a known phenomenon. So, the responsibility for a person going through a problem can be shared with more people than one, and this would help pass that burden of care.
Absolutely. Would you want to add something to this, Anshul, Debarati, or Sydney?
I think Dr. Fabian has given
Sydney.
enough suggestions. I completely concur with all the things that he has said, because at the end of the day, a life has been saved, and that is quite important. So that is what each one of us has been trying to do or prevent.
Absolutely. Debarati, Anshul, anything you want to add on to this?
No, sir has completely said, and I agree with the sir. And go, I think it's a time to fight and not to just be submissive. We have to fight this disease, and हमें डरना नहीं है. Like डर के आगे सर कहते हैं जीत है. We should fight, and we have Mountain Dew daily, sir.
Before I go to Sydney for the second case, I would like to ask you all, during the time of COVID, there are many exams which are going to come. How should the students focus on the exams? Anybody can start. Anshul can start. It's a
Sir,
question being asked by a lot of audience.
Yeah.
sir, like for the
Yes.
exam. Oh, sorry. Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am, start.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually this is a problem we are facing currently here, especially the first year students. They are just going to be adjusted to this place. They are not yet that much, and their semester exams are going to come. They don't know, they are not sure that whether it will happen or not. So they have already, their routines got disrupted, which Fabian sir was saying about the boredom. This thing is coming to their life because they do not have any routine. Their sleeps are disturbed all the time. They are reporting about the problem of insomnia.
So how do you
So
deal with this? How do you bring the concentration back?
yes. So what I suggest them that first of all you have to understand that no matter what is the situation, there are few things we cannot control, but there are things which are in our hand, like the routine which we used to have earlier. We have to just stick to those routines as much as possible. It is not possible wholly because the classes are not happening. Online classes are happening, but not they are not going there. So they have to stick to their routines. They have to do the physical exercises, how much it is possible. If morning walk if possible, because they are allowed to go out in the morning time only. And with that, some sleep hygiene techniques also I tell them that, if they say kid then sleep is not coming at night, so what to do there. So at that time, that you have to only 20 minutes you be in the bed, and then you go back to your table chairs, start your studies, so that until the sleep is coming back, you don't go back to your bed. Use bed for only sleep, like that. These techniques, we have also administered some deep breathing techniques to them, which can make them feel more relaxed, so that their concentration, attention in their academics comes back.
Okay, so but all of you, Anshul, you're going to come after her. with the same question. But all of you would understand that kids are all different. The students are all different. So the same mantra may not apply to every student, and that I think is
Exactly.
very important. For example, somebody who's very physical might want to do a lot of physical activity and calm down, and an introvert might want to just sit down on his phone or read something and calm down. So how do we weave different programs for different children as far as their concentration is concerned? Some people might not be happy with doing exercise. Some people might do just a game or Sudoku. Some people might listen to music, and some people, Devarati, might want to take cannabis to get concentration.
Yes. Yes, actually,
Thank you.
they give us a lot of knowledge about that. Anyway, yes, Anshul sir.
So
Anshul
since
wants to say something. Yeah.
So exams are
Anshul.
around the corner. Like for I suggest that जो मुझे calls आती हैं कि you make a schedule, like if you want to study for 2 hours or 3 hours, and the दो तीन घंटे अपने बिल्कुल time से पढ़ना है. Sir, regarding online counseling which ma'am said, तो sir online counseling sir थोड़ा monitoring के साथ करना पड़ेगा, because ma'am some adult sites might open and they can harm the child. So online counseling is good, since it's better than zero. But online counseling, sorry, online study is good, but ऑनलाइन साइट जब कोई पॉर्न खुल जाता है या कोई एडल्ट साइट खुलती है, सर, इट क्रिएट्स अ नेगेटिविटी एंड इट कैन हार्म देम. सो firstly I would request these parents to make a schedule and keep a watch on them, so that they don't, hello, they don't go
Yeah, go
they
ahead.
don't open
Yeah, we can hear you.
they don't open any porn site. And make a schedule and study subject by subject of their interest and page by page, and don't and no need to panic, and take rest in between. What I used to do in my study period, I used to study for 2 to 3 hours, and half an hour break, either I used to talk to my brother, I used to talk to my friends, or since music is my hobby, I used to listen to music, and it used to calm my mind. So whatever is your hobby, you study for 2 to 3 hours, you focus on the hobbies, and whatever online you are doing, and for the parents, please keep the watch on them, sir.
Absolutely. What is very important for us to understand is give them options to calm themselves down. There are many options, and each one might choose one option. They might not choose the same option. That is number one. Number two is accept reality, and that I think is very difficult. Corona is there. The entire earth is on fire. There is nothing we can do about it. We have to wait. Accepting reality liberates the soul and makes us feel that things will come back to normal. And the third is some children concentrate well when they sit with their friends. They sit down with their friends and they study. Some do very well when they sit alone. Some do very well when they sit down with their boyfriend or girlfriend, but the parents don't allow. But they really do well when they study. Some kids are
Lockdown.
inspired. Some kids are inspired by the teachers. If a teacher speaks to them, so there are a million ways of inspiring children to improve concentration, and there are 100 tools to improve concentration. One tool may not be applicable to many, so expose them to many tools, zoom on some which they like, and see to it that our engagement with the student never stops. The student might defy you across time, get into the worst situation, but still he is part of us, and we will engage with him continuously. With that, we go to the second case, a
Sydney
second
wants
story.
to say a point.
Yeah,
Sydney?
yeah. Fabian, go ahead, go ahead.
Regarding because this is also a very what you call a very very legitimate and a burning question which most students will be asking. I have a little radical view regarding exams at the time of the pandemic. What I believe
Please
is
go ahead.
we don't have a formula which is exactly fitting any psychosocial intervention, any psychological tip which works with all the whole world, the country, including the students. They are stressed. So, what is the need for an exam in a pandemic? The IITs, I know the government will not agree to it. This is my personal opinion. The IITs very recently has said that let's do away with the first year exam. I completely agree with it. Continue with the online classes, yes, give them assignment, but this is not the time to judge. 1 year does not make any difference anywhere. Exams, I mean, how do you judge a person who just scored a pass mark then from a person who scores 10 mark more? I mean, these systems are little redundant in an emergency like this. Everybody is stressed out. The students, when we say students, we are talking about kindergarten students, young students, adolescents, adult. They have different vulnerabilities, they have different methods of approaching. So why to add one more stress? Strictly, this is my personal opinion. It doesn't reflect
No, no, you are
one's
right,
opinion. My
sir. You are
opinion,
right.
yeah.
in Maharashtra, they have cancelled one semester exams of engineering and they have said you're passed.
I
So it
think that
has
is that
been
should be the way
applied,
out.
not in, I don't know about IIT, but at least in engineering college. In schools, 8th and 9th, 8th standard, till 8th standard, they have said pass. So I
Hmm.
completely also concur when there's a major disaster. Why the obsession for exams? And you have stolen the hearts of all our audience. They're saying, congratulations, awesome Sydney,
No,
awesome
sir,
Sydney,
this
so
is
Education
very.
jealous of
Minister.
you.
Next
We're
Education
jealous of
Minister.
you.
No, when we are talking about harm reduction, what can we do
I
to
I
allay the
agree with you.
anxiety? Take away the exam. It
I
doesn't
agree
matter.
with you.
It really doesn't matter. I mean, we
You
know.
have stolen the hearts of thousands of students across the country. Fabian, you want to add something here?
I
Anshul, you
just
want to say
wanted to
something?
say, yes, I just wanted
Sir,
to say, sir.
there was a news I read before, like children from fifth standard. I truly agree with sir. There is no need of exam this time because this is a time of like anxiety and a fear. So there was a news I want to share. The students from fifth to 10th standard they were promoted. Sir, this is a very good news actually. Without giving an exam, and it is actually a situation of fear. So how can one study? Sir, I give example. My sister-in-law, she is doing MBBS. She had a papers around April. Sorry, she had a paper around April. Now this pandemic started. I'm in constant touch with her. Earlier she used to had anxiety. Now मैं उसको ये बोलता हूँ, you don't worry. This time shall pass. Now sir, finally they're having their final exams. No send up in July itself. So I think pandemic is a time to relax and not to get worried.
I
Yes,
completely agree.
my
And my teacher friend, Miss Kalpana, said FY exams have been cancelled in their college. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, my
You
my
have
only
said you have done something. You have changed the course of the entire discussion, Sydney. Go ahead.
uh,
No, sir.
I
Yeah,
The
just
thing
Fabian.
is, like Anshul is saying, see, we have students, the medical students coming in, helping us. So that's an exam, right? I mean, it's just not some question, some paper by which you judge a person. It's a very redundant system, and this is also a high time we need to look into our education policy. That is this the right way to judge our student? No, sir. We have
Absolutely.
failed
Fabian,
in our
you
class
were saying
test.
something.
yes,
Absolutely,
I
absolutely.
my point was that the lockdown is probably not the best time for parents to instill discipline. They have to take the midway path, the moderation between discipline and total liberation. So parents need to take note of all the points that you have said.
True.
And secondly, this is the best time to teach life skills. So exams you pass or no, but how to become a good wife and a good husband later, all the skills are now jadu, pocha, how are you helping in the kitchen, how are you coordinating as a family. Best time, this is your playground to learn life skills, and don't waste this
Exactly.
opportunity.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And we tell parents in India that please engage and enjoy this time so that the kids excel in the future. Beautifully said. And as we go to the second story to Sydney, Moir and 10.
Yes, sir.
My father, age 65, has stopped talking since 4 weeks. He talks very less. He's okay otherwise. He sleeps less too. During the early phase of the lockdown, he was asking many questions on the virus. We told him to chill and not bother. After this, his conversations decreased. Is he depressed? Is he just sad? Is he only scared? How do I help him?
So, when we talk about the impact of this pandemic on each one of us, there are some populations which are very, very vulnerable, the elderly being one of them. And very often, because the whole structure of our Indian society, we talk very proudly of about this is, or we have a joint family system, this is blah, blah, blah. But if you see the scene in the, particularly in the urban area, because of a more nuclear family, the separation from the elderly parents is also happening in India as is in the West. So we are no longer very different. And because the son or the daughter with whom one of the elderly must be staying is also struggling in life, they might feel that papa theek hai, mummy theek hai, rahenge. So, I mean, they are not taken for granted, not in terms of neglect as such, but life goes on. So they are just one member where you find that it is not really important to give an additional time where you should be giving it. So a pandemic like this, a parent, an elderly, might have also read from the newspaper, from the media, informations which are true, informations which are not true, that the mortality rate among them is going to be the highest. So what do we expect a father, a mother to think that, okay, I am 65 and above, or I am 60, what is going to happen to me? So those are the time that we need to explain, educate to them very, very clearly. Yes, the studies or most of the things that are happening worldwide suggest that the mortality or the morbidity is quite high. But if we maintain and very strictly practice all the measures that has been suggested by the medical institute, social distancing, or let's say physical distancing, hand wash, hygiene, there is very very less chances that they will ever be infected or they will get an infection. So being giving sufficient enough transparency. When we are not sure, we should be very clear in saying that, okay, Papa, okay, Mama, I really don't know this. Let me just ask a friend who can give you better information. We cannot, we should not neglect them or take them for granted. What will be running in their mind? I am 65, I am 70. Is my life done? Should I be mentally prepared, or should I prepare a will so that something, if happens to me, goes to them? Or if I am sick, because we know that if a person gets ill with corona and is in the ICU, the very very chances of them coming out in an elderly becomes very very slim. So am I going to see them? I mean, this is quite real. I mean, a lot of people with experiences in Italy and in the UK have suggested that, I mean, you have to be more human. Protocols can take a little bit of a backseat. So they might be imagining themselves, okay, I'm in ICU. Am I going to see my parents, my grandson again, my granddaughter again? Am I going to be alone when the things finally happen? So those are some of the things which it needs to be addressed very, very carefully, very, very sensitively. Boredom will come in. When we are,
Absolutely. I think you said something very beautiful. Don't take them for granted.
yeah.
Be transparent. Explore their feelings, how they feel. Don't get scared of the feelings. If they say, will I fall sick? Will I die? Listen to those feelings. And if you're not able to really digest and respond to those feelings, you have to reach out not to your family priest alone, but to a family counselor. It's high time that families have counselors and not only priests. Beautifully said. Are there any myths which will come up, Sydney, in such a situation?
Sir, the myths, or rather, I would say if not a myth, some of the things which we are facing right now is like, okay, what do we do then? I mean, they cannot go out. So how do we handle the boredom? These are these are the questions which we don't have a clear answer, because when you say handling boredom, because boredom, the neglect, the sense of loneliness will start in before a person becomes completely depressed, as we are seeing in this case scenario. It took 4 weeks for him to reach there. If it is a strict housing society, where this is happening in many housing societies now, you have elderly parents on the 12th floor. The society doesn't allow them to come out. What do you do? It's a 3 bedroom apartment or a 2 bedroom, which is where space is a luxury in a place like Mumbai. So what do we do then? Is there some way we can help to elevate their distress? We said, okay, do meditation. Yes, it might help. It may help. It will help if they are able to follow some breathing exercises, some psychological techniques, which a lot of our panelists has mentioned. But when you don't have any such facility, let's say a slum, what are we going to advise? So that is, I think, where transparency of information and the social distancing has to be strictly followed. My personal belief is, I mean, we have to be very clear in those things. Yes, if there are visible signs of depression going on, if it is not looks depressed but may not be up to the amount that it will require medicine or hospitalization, maybe talking to a counselor, maybe talking to the community person who will be able to address that will should be the first thing which should be done. Some of the techniques which I was just going through this afternoon, which people have used in US, in France, particularly Italy, particularly for the elderly population, is if they have an access to resources as in mobile technology, rather than just hunting them out. Because if you can just this example say, okay, Papa, this is WhatsApp, the green is the one you press, this is the icon for the phone, this is the icon for the video, maybe they can connect with their friends. Everybody may not have this facility, but for who does, the sense of connect with their own surrounding, with their own peers, gives us some sort of a solace that, they can also share their own things which is happening around. uh, not many studies suggest to say that, you teach an elderly how to play a video game, but if they do like, that is not a bad option. Elderly, we should always remember our
Absolutely,
parents.
absolutely, Sydney. Absolutely, Sydney. And
Mm,
I do. What we have observed, it may be a limited experience. Three things work with elders. One is they do little odd jobs inside the house that keep them active. Little odd jobs,
true,
and they
true,
also
true.
feel very useful, very
Yeah.
useful. And the second most important thing is elderly are accept yoga as if it's their diet. They don't mind because there's a misnomer about yoga. Yoga is supposed to be done after you retire, which is not true. It has to be done
True.
from the age of 10. The third thing which we advise and we saw wonderful results, Sydney, I would like to share, is that when sons who are 40s and 50s, they sit down with their father and mother and recall their childhood days with their father and mother, the good days, the way I still feel uh, escorted by you. I can still feel your hand on my palm. Daddy, do you remember at the age of 8 when I was caught by my school teacher and she scolded me? You put your hand around me and said, don't worry, I'm there. I am there. My huna, those sentences which I've heard with children. When you start sharing these sentences, my dear Sidnam, रुलाओगे क्या is the sentence you heard from the elders. It's high time the lockdown helped the stoic corporate adults, vice presidents, to reach their heart and talk to their fathers as little children. Sydney, when stories meet, there is bonding. When achievements
Exactly.
meet, there, there is no bonding. It's just an acknowledgement of your intellect. But in the lockdown, there's a great opportunity for the young to reach out to their parents and actually share stories and not glories. Stories help people to connect. The glories only help you to enhance how you feel about yourself. And Sydney, you said something beautifully. Do not take them for granted and see do that. But there's one more thing, Sydney. Alzheimer's, taking medication.
True. Yeah.
What do we do? Very tough,
So,
very tough.
so
KPR, it's very
exactly.
tough. Anshul, Debrati, very,
Yeah.
very tough. Yeah.
So exactly that is what I was coming to that, sir, because this is a very, very common situation or rather scenario which I have experienced even in with persons in my personal circle. मम्मी पापा के लिए दवाई लेके आया हूँ वो लोग ले लेंगे. I mean, your responsibility does not end with this statement. Your responsibility starts from there. Elderly, if you are blessed with the parents who are very, very well without an illness, it's good. But many of us we know do have a comorbidity. It can be diabetes, it can be hypertension, it can be both. They might have a mental illness per se, which is going to be made, if not worse, going to be a little bit exacerbated. So just leaving a strip of medicine or something there with them next to the bed, assuming that they will take it, it's a wrong method. A pill counting, just once, take the pill out and give it, okay, mommy, can you please take it? That sense of connect, which costs you only 2 minutes or less than 2 minutes, is going to give a bonding which people will need. So when we come to Alzheimer's, people, when they are anxious and nervous and fearful, the forgetfulness is going to increase. So this is also the time they are most vulnerable. Drugs that we use for Alzheimer's also can increase the chances for what is known as a delirium. They will be taking drugs for hypertension, they will be taking drugs for diabetes, some of the drugs from a psychiatrist or a psychologist somewhere, they can interact in so many ways. So those are the times that we have to be very, very careful that are they taking the right medicine? Is it possible that the confusion which my mom, my dad is experiencing right now, is it because he has taken twice the dose of medicine? Those are the real scenarios that we have to acknowledge that it exists, because this is also the time when many hospitals will not like to take a patient, either fear which is rational or fear which is irrational. So the sense of connect, the sense of responsibility, like which I'm again stating, is it does not end the time we leave a strip of medicine with them. The responsibility starts there.
Absolutely, Sydney. Today is my mother's 84th birthday.
Wow.
And
Happy belated birthday, or
Happy
happy birthday
belated.
to
Happy birthday,
and
Dadiji or Auntie ji. I'm not,
Happy
I
birthday
was,
to
yeah.
auntie.
And she's in
Auntie
Bangalore,
ji.
and we have had long chats. We have cracked jokes. I asked her, how old are you? She said 54. Then she said, Harish, I was born in 1936. So you count. And this and what you said was right. Before Anshul, Fabian, and Debarati add on to this, you really touched my heart because I'm 61.
You're
You
still
can't
very
believe that,
young,
no?
very, very dynamic.
Age,
Sir, I met you in
I'm 61.
2006
age,
in Srinagar when you guide us.
age is a matter of
I'm
numbers.
Number.
Age is a matter of numbers.
I'm 61. So what is very important for the elderly, for the children is hospitals and festivals are the times when you connect. Always take your parents or in-laws to the doctor. Give the medicine not in your hand, in your mouth with the
Mouth.
water. My mother-in-law is there. I give her vitamin and another tablet in her hand with the water. Number two, festivals. Very important to be very loving during festivals. Touch your feet if it's part of a culture. Anshu will know what is Pai Lagu Kya Karna also pata hai. And I think these are the small things which keep connectivity on, and that I think is very, you brought it beautifully. Fabian, Debrati and Anshul, anybody on the same?
just just two
So I
simple
think
things,
we
not not only for the elderly citizens but for everybody. Get your daily dose of sunshine and sky. Go to the windows, go to the balconies, get some fresh air, look at the sun. I think this is important, not only because it will make you feel fresh, but even the melatonin that is involved will help your sleep wake cycle. So sunshine and sky, I tell all my patients, get your daily dose of it, and your windows and your balconies are the best places to be.
Absolutely. Yeah, Anshul.
So I think in this Corona time, the children who are living with elderly parents, they are like a blessing, or like a joint family, they are blessing, or those people who are like
Exactly, it's a
away.
blessing.
Those who, sir, I have heard many people that are away, they are stuck up. Like one of the actors was saying, I am in Mumbai and my family is stuck up in Dubai. So that this is the time they need better health, better immunity, and we need to give them regular medication, and we need to give them full support, full love, and full time. And we have to need to have patience. And even the grandchildren, they are comfortable with our parents. I have a daughter
Absolutely.
who's very comfortable playing with my father, my mother, rather than me. But she's very, very comfortable, sir, during this time.
Absolutely. And during this time, when there's a fire on the earth, we forget old resentments, we forget old stories, we forget all those things that happened 10 years back, and just be in the moment. And that is beautifully said. And somebody asked us, if you are an NRI parent, your kids are abroad and you are alone here, what to do? I think the same which what Sydney said. Keep your Skype on, keep cooking, keep doing work, and keep talking to your children there. And don't tell them, I don't feel like eating till you eat. How are you in United States of America? Say, I'm eating, you are eating, let's eat together across the screen. That I think
True,
is very, very important. Number two is
true.
don't say, I'm missing you too often. When you say missing you too often, there's a lot of longing. But you say, I miss you, but I would love to be with you as soon as I can. That causes bonding. I think that is very important.
Very
Deborah,
true.
you want to add something onto this? Your parents, your reminiscence about your parents, your grandparents, or
Yes,
your
sir.
kids?
Yes, sir. Two things actually were about my daughter, 4 years old daughter, who is always with her grandparents, and it is a blessing for her. I can see that she is very happy, though her father is not here. और उसके साथ और एक बात भी मैं कहूँगी कि I can see my father. He is 65 years, and I can see his worry about death, about leaving her granddaughter. He has already undergone bypass surgery. He is having COPD, so he is very much vulnerable. I know he has obesity, so all these things are there. So all the time, the most the fear which he is having is ki when if this I am getting affected by COVID-19, then I will be completely away from my family, and probably in my last days I won't be able to see them. So these are the worries. Yeah, I think all the old people are having, mostly them, and sometimes my husband also talks like that. So these things are there, this is happening. And I think that is why Sydney sir and Fabian sir and Anshu sir said beautifully that this is the time we should not have guilt later. We should do something for them right now when they are with us.
एक
And I
छोटा
call it
सा
anonymous.
रहस्य, एक
Bolo,
simple
bolo, bolo,
रहस्य.
Fabian.
Free 40-minute Zoom sessions. It's free, and we used it on Sunday to connect with the children and grandchildren for my parents' 56th wedding anniversary. It was a surprise for them. Everyone on the laptop. It was an emotional moment. Everyone in tears. Some grandchild in Paris, one grandchild in Canada, one grandchild in US, and my brother and sister in Dubai and in Kuwait, and they're all crying there on the screen and enjoying a beautiful moment together. So use the Zoom session, and it's wonderful to connect.
Completely agree.
Yes.
At the same time, if elderly people talk about severe anxiety, screen them for depression. At the
Exactly.
same time, if they talk about existential dilemma, like for example, मैंने तो मेरा पूरा कर्तव्य किया है, आप सेटल हो गए हो, मेरी बेटी यूएस में सेटल हो गई, अभी मेरा काम हो गया, screen them for depression. Because when the elderly plan to commit suicide, they do it successfully. And depression is very common in the elderly. If it is so, please treat them at the earliest. At this point of time, I really wish all the elderly in my country and across the globe a
Yes.
happy lockdown day. And lastly, about the elderly, one day at a time, as Debrati said, one day at a time. Alcoholic Anonymous says, one day at a time, Fabian. Today is my day. Let me enjoy with my son, with my father, with my grandchildren. And also, what is very, very important is Beckham says, one goal at a time. Let's enjoy the moment without being very hedonistic, and that is important. And one question coming again and again from the audience is sleep. How do we help ourselves to sleep in the disaster
This
time?
is a very common problem we
Yeah,
can
yeah.
see here
I'll ask the entire question. I'll ask the entire question. Sleep. How can you sleep when you have been traumatized across time? How do we keep the young teenagers and the elders away from the gadgets so that they sleep well? I would add one more question. What is the importance of sleep in improving immunity? Because what we are doing now is improving immunity because Corona has come to live with us. Corona is our brother living with us. Only thing which we can do is improving immunity. So I would want answers to all these questions from each one of you. Anybody can start. I think Devrati is wanting to start first, and then you can go ahead. Yeah, Devrati. Devrati, are you muted? You can't hear me.
Devrati?
Devrati, you can't hear me. Okay,
So
Sydney
in
can
the
go ahead.
Sir, this is Bangalore. I mean, this is considered the IT hub of the country, or if not the whole of the world. So many of our friends in the IT, they said that we are working from home, and now we are working from home. We are not very sure when do we start our breakfast, or when is lunch, or when is dinner. So I mean, everything's the whole routine goes for a toss, and because you have to, entertain clients where the time zone is very different, uh, the sleep issues becomes a real problem. What is going to be superadded is the corona. What do people do? Okay, you have a deadline to fulfill. So you take a lot of coffee, you take a lot of tea because that is what keep you awake. If we remember, sir, 6, 7 months back, we were talking of behavioral addiction. One of them is internet or digital addiction. Now we are telling the children or every one of us to do just the opposite. I mean, how do we justify that? Yes, it is not the technology which is wrong, it is the usage of the technology which is wrong. So, when this technology has to be adopted to, should I say, the right use for education, then the whole routine of what do you do in a normal day when you were not in a lockdown has to be maintained. Getting up on time, eating on time, easier said than done. I failed a lot of times, so I won't be surprised if people are also failing. So I mean, this is happening, and a lot of times what people do is because you start sleeping late and you start waking up late. Then I mean the sleep cycle that no longer becomes 24 hours; it becomes 27 plus hours. So that thing has to stop. The sleep time has to be fixed. The wake up time is very, very difficult to fix, but the sleep time has to be the wake up time has to be fixed. I'm very sorry. So if you plan that you have to get up at 7, it has to be 7 whether you sleep at 6 or 6:30 or whether you sleep at 12 midnight the last previous day. So anything which disturbs sleep like coffee, caffeine, addicting substance like alcohol, or because you are going to work and a client is there in Cisco who wants this coding to be done, you cannot be smoking throughout the night, which a lot of friends in the IT do. So those things has to be addressed. These things has to be done. And Devotee will be able to tell in a better position about the psychological techniques. But like sir, you say yoga, breathing exercise, if you do properly, they are also sleep enhancers. So a change in our sleep hygiene needs to be done. I am deliberately avoiding medicines. Medicines in this situation should be taken last when all of the techniques are tried and has failed. It's easy for a doctor to write a medicine. Telemedicine is legal. Now, with the new amendment, benzos are going to be legal. So you just take a prescription, take a snapshot, and WhatsApp. That's a very easy fix. But that easy fix is not an easy fix for the patient. It's easy fix for us. So I think sleep hygiene and other techniques which our other panelists can share will be the way out.
Absolutely, and sleep is not about arithmetic; it's about architecture, and that is something we need to really understand. You are saying something, Devrati?
Yes, actually, I got disconnected, so I missed some
Yeah.
parts probably.
No, no, you
Um,
were saying something about sleep. You wanted to say something about how to sleep.
Yes, actually, this insomnia problem is reported by a lot of students here. So, what the same thing the what Sydney had said, this sleep hygiene techniques we are telling them, and about exercises. What I usually tell them that I know that everybody doesn't like meditation. Everybody doesn't like a particular kind of like deep breathing or all these things. So I say कि अगर आपको आपके रूम में दरवाजा बंद करके जोर से म्यूजिक चला के डांस करना भी अच्छा लगता है, यू डू दैट फॉर 30 minutes. That will also help you to elevate your mood. So whatever you like, they are not able to go out of their hostel, so I tell them, okay, inside hostels, whatever games you can play together. I mean, even together is a problem nowadays. So sometimes they do play carom. Sometimes they are playing footballs also inside their premises. So these things, what like give some kind of physical exhaustion to them, that definitely will help them to have a good sleep.
I'm
They are
sure.
using a
Fantastic. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Yes, yes.
they
Gabriel,
are
please.
they are using a lot of time they are wasting actually in gadgets like mobiles, laptops, and they are saying that we understand that this is not a very healthy habit, and that is also maybe having some impact on my sleep, but I don't know what else to do. So then redirecting them to the daily routines. The most important thing that you please be away from news. All the time there are students who are all the time online and seeing only the news and getting anxious, and that definitely affects the sleep as well. So only maybe two times, one time in the morning, one time in the evening, you see the news, whatever counts you want to see, India is in top 10 or not in top 10, all these things you see, and then you go back to like your old habits. You can nurture those old memories. You can get connected to your old friends. These are the things which can help you to feel good, and you can utilize your time, I think, in a better way.
Anshul, you're saying something. Fabian wants to say
Sir,
something.
this insomnia reminds me of a song from the movie Dil. Amir Khan said, "मुझे नींद ना आए, मुझे चैन ना आए."
मुझे नींद ना आए, मुझे चैन ना आए. I remember. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir.
And
Sir, in my
it's on the green grass of Kashmir.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
लेकिन ये
Yes, yes.
Sir,
प्यार नहीं
mostly
है,
psychiatric
लेकिन ये
disorders
प्यार
are
नहीं है.
linked. Sir, this COVID time reminds me of one more song, sir. This like lockdown period, and I give my comment. There was this song, बाहर से कोई अंदर ना आ सके और अंदर से कोई बाहर ना जा सके. It was relate, and this suits this, sir. So, sir, I have seen a case of one case a few days back. The patient was 20 years old. He only had a complaint of sleep, only insomnia. No other past history when in COVID, and even the counseling was done. It was this COVID news which ma'am said he was listening to it repetitively, day and night. So because of that, he was having late sleep. So I told him, I advised him to, limit the news till 10 to 15 minutes. Otherwise, you'll end up in trouble. And sir, I guided him about the sleep hygiene. Like you need to have a proper sleep. एक टाइम पे फिक्स टाइम पे सोना है, फिक्स टाइम पे उठना है. यदि नींद नहीं आती है, you start reading boring books. You start listening to instrumental music. The answer, most of the time, these people who are not getting the proper sleep, they are not doing physical activity. So I encourage them to do physical activity for at least 30 to 45 minutes, either in the morning time or in the evening time. And so, ma'am rightly said, and it
Is
is
there any
believed that
ma'am or sir here? There's no ma'am, there's no sir here. There's Harish, there is Sydney, there is Fabian, there
as
is
Dr.
Anshul, and
Departy,
there
as
is
Dr.
Gabriel.
Departy said, look, the usage of gadgets have been improved, have been increasing day by day, and the people are using it for night time. Like Netflix movies, children are busy so much in the social media at late night. So I think there should be some limitation. Like after 8 o'clock, there should be no social media, no Netflix, only family time, and then only they will be able to get the proper sleep, sir. This is my
Uh,
comment, sir.
yeah.
Listen,
Fabian,
quick
this is
point.
a big issue.
Yes.
Trauma and sleep also. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people who say that I'm not sleeping well, everything else is okay, all is well. मुझे सिर्फ नींद नहीं आता है. The key is that that is not the only issue. And
True.
unless you address the other issues, how can you
Exactly.
expect to sleep? I will not sleep well if I have something bothering me on my mind. Nothing is going to work unless I resolve and look at those solutions for that problem. So probing into insomnia the tip of the iceberg phenomenon that we see, going into what is the reason for them not sleeping. They are worried about their parents. So, what can they do in that respect? They are worried about financial losses. So, what can they do about that? Helping, solution seeking for specific problems can help them rest better at night. So, reaching, even if it's a trauma, what is the endpoint of that trauma? If the trauma has happened when they were in childhood and now they are in their 60s, you have to let go of your emotional baggage. How can you not sleep well because of something that has happened in your childhood? So, helping them resolve those issues, looking forward, living in today's date and time, and leaving the past or not peeping too much into the future would help better sleep. Three simple things that have worked for me. Rituja Divekar, a very good nutritionist, has also recommended a warm glass of milk with turmeric. It also improves your immunity, but it also helps you to sleep better. Two, no clock watching. A lot of people get up in the middle of the night and then look at, oh, it's 3 o'clock. Oh, it's 2 o'clock. I'm not getting sleep. Now what? That itself puts your sleep wake cycle behind. So, no clock watching. And third, very simply, a good hot water bath helps release the spasm of your muscles. And therefore, that relaxes your body to sleep better. I think these three practical things have helped me get better sleep whenever I need it.
Absolutely, I do Shavasana and Pranayama to help you, but also look for physical problems which can lead to insomnia. A low hemoglobin, a low
Right.
vitamin B12, low
So,
vitamin D3, thyroid issues, blood
yeah.
pressure uncontrolled, diabetes uncontrolled can cause a lot of sleep issues. And as Fabian said and others said, sleep is also a window to other illnesses, and that has to be checked. Don't play around with your sleep. In children, growth hormones released during sleep and you grow well. In adults, you have also neurogenesis happening, new connections. And if you shorten your sleep and if you play around with your deep sleep, your life will be shortened. You are prone to physical illnesses, you are prone to heart attacks, you are prone to death. So let's use the lockdown to get our sleep cycle back. And as we go to the fourth question of the day, and that case, that story, I think Anshul said that he would want to address that. My mom passed away 3 months ago, and then this happened. We are not over our demise of our mother, and lockdown happened. We are all quiet. Our two kids were very close to her. We all are disinterested, sad, and lost. Mom passed away and lockdown happened. We are all disinterested in any activities. We don't speak to each other. Don't know what to do. We are also quiet and sit away. We are worried that if we sit together, we will get thoughts of our mom and we will start crying. My father is very depressed. He has been saying that it's better to die than suffer. He says, let's all die together. Anshul?
So basically, it's like a death of the mother and the lockdown. It has added to the and the basic is a grief reaction. So there are some depressive symptoms which are prevalent. So sir, I would like to give some tips for the family that everybody should not to avoid each other. Rather, they should stay with each other and they should sit together, share their feelings. And as like the curfew has been relaxed, they should go out for a while and they should go on a walk on the balcony. They should talk to each other. The grandchildren should talk to the grandfather as he's having a history of depression, sir. And so the family members should be doing the regular routine. They should be practicing regular exercise. They should, if one of them they can do regular yoga or meditation, they should do it, sir. And they should not be, sir, they should not criticize, because after grief or in a depressive, they at times person become negative, or there should not be any critical analysis. And they should uh, they should understand the elderly. They demand more time in this COVID time. They regard love to each other and quality time, which is necessary, sir. And since father is old, he needs emotional support and care, and he should not be left alone.
Absolutely. I think one of the most beautiful things actually you said is let us cry together.
Yeah.
When you cry together as a family, you also help your mother to be peaceful in heaven. It's a belief. When you cry together, you also say that we are all together. We remember our mother as we all remember her, and there is no shame in crying at all. आंसू भी बहा फरियाद भी कर दिल जलता है तो इलाज ले आंसू न बहाओ नहीं, वो गाना तो ऐसी है, आंसू न बहा, फरियाद फरियाद न कर, दिल जलता है तो, आई चेंज दैट सॉन्ग, आंसू भी बहा फरियाद भी कर, दिल जलता है तो इकट्ठे आ जाओ. So important to say I'm not ashamed of my tears. हिंदी में कहावत है, जो बह गया वो पानी है, जो रह गया वो जहर है, पानी बहने दो. And that is something you should never. I still remember, my dear friend, when I was working in Kandla, a family had lost three of their people. So the other three would not eat together because they were very worried. If they eat together, they'll start crying. And they said, we should not cry. Who said crying is liberating? Ask Debrati, ask Sydney, ask. Crying is so liberating. You can cry without reason also. And that, I think, Anshuli, you have really brought out beautifully. Others would want to add something?
Uh, I think yes, it is
Debarati,
only
Fabian, and Sydney.
that time for grief work is important. We cannot just get back to everything like nothing has happened and put on a face or or a pretense. So we have to accept that it will take time, and it is not bad to go through those memories, to look at those photographs, to recount instances and let yourself cry. Cry can making you help feel better, lighter, and move on. With time, you are now able to recollect those times and internalize the love that that person and the presence of that person in your life. So as you would cry so often in the beginning, recollecting everything, with time you start beginning to smile and realize that that person, the love that person had and the bonds you all shared have all been internalized within your mind and your heart. So this is a process that
Absolutely.
happens.
Beautiful, Fabian. Yes. How many of you have lost your grandparents or parents? One of your parents.
Grandparents.
Okay. 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 So when I lost my father, but the doctors were very scared to come close because I was crying like a child. I have a right to cry. I was not ashamed of my tears. And Abraham Lincoln said that. Teach my son not to be ashamed of his tears. So beautiful, so beautiful. So you would like to add something, Sydney?
This is a
Yes,
very
sir. Yes,
Sorry,
Debarati,
sorry,
please.
yes,
sorry.
yes, sir.
Debarati,
No, please.
Debarati, you first.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
first, you first.
this is a very good suggestion, sir, because here also we see that crying is somehow associated with a lot of guilt, and it proves somehow it portrays that I am a very weak person, but it is actually not that we have to convey to everybody, especially the boys. Here these young adult boys, they always, especially from northern India part, I have seen that they have this taboo that if I cry that means I'm weak, so I cannot.
ए नॉर्दर्न इंडिया नहीं, सदर्न इंडिया में भी यही होता है.
Almost everywhere. Almost everywhere.
बोलो बोलो, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
So I
Go
have
ahead,
seen
go
that,
ahead.
yes, that this students are have this lot of guilt, and when I allow them in the session also that cry, and that is absolutely okay, you will feel good, you will feel मतलब आपको हल्का महसूस होगा, the burden will be less. Then when they get this kind of validation, they may be sometimes practicing it, and that itself helps them a lot. This
Yes,
acts as a
Sydney.
catharsis.
Sydney, Moira anthem, I got it right.
Yes, sir. A few things I will just supplement, or rather, this one. I completely agree with what Dr. Fabian is saying. A loss is a loss. I mean, when there is a death of a family member, grief will come. There is no shortcut for grief. There is no technique for it. It is not a zip delete and the file is gone from your hard drive. No, it's not going to happen. It's going to stay. And acknowledging that, it is natural and it's not a sign of weakness is not wrong. The family should be allowed to grieve. In this case scenario, we are seeing a father who is very, very depressed, possibly had a history of depression. So in these circumstances, things take a slightly different turn in the sense that one of the family member has to make up with a very, very strong face. The person has to be the so-called pivot around which the whole family of this family has a circle of the what we call the universe of the family has to revolve. Because if the father was depressed from before, and after the death of his wife, that is the mother, he might have started to miss his medicine. That might trigger a relapse. And what we as a physician or mental health professional should be advising is please take care of this elderly. He is the most vulnerable in this because for him, he is going to be bombarded with two sets of reality. One, his partner is gone. Secondly, there is a set of infections where the elderly are most vulnerable. So he will find when he is more relapsed into depression, more than one reason to try and end his life. So those are the things that it needs to be addressed very, very seriously. Uh,
Absolutely, absolutely, Sidney. Go
yeah,
ahead, go ahead.
some of the this one questions which is coming from our audience is a person is sleeping too much. Is
Well,
it normal?
we'll address that a little
Yeah,
later. We'll address that a little
sure.
later.
Yeah.
So
Mm,
I think what you have said is one
mm,
person has to delay his grief so that the
exactly.
others come back to normal. That's what he said.
Yeah.
What is also very important is
Mm,
somebody would have guilt. I did not take her to the doctor again and again. I was
yeah.
very harsh to her when she was alive,
Mm,
and all those
yeah.
feelings need to be addressed. And if the grief
Mm,
lasts a little longer, counseling is advisable, and that I think is very, very important. Also,
mm,
avoid inquisitive, curious people asking stupid questions. Oh,
exactly, sir.
it is easy to tell the family to move on, but the family knows that they have lost the mother. The guy who's saying, "Oh, please move on immediately," unlike what Fabian said was later,
Mm,
immediately is somebody who cannot relate to the grief. So avoid people who give you long lectures. Avoid people who say, "अभी तुम्हारा बच्चे को देखो, उसको देख के तुम आगे बढ़ो, अभी क्यों रोता है?" Avoid these people. Only be with people who understand you, who are with you, who belong to you. And that I think is very important. As Sydney said, there's a question where if you're sleeping more, it is true that sleeping more can be a sign of depression, it can be a sign of physical illness, it can be a sign of boredom, and it can be a sign of other things. But sleeping excessively is also a sign of depression. It can be a sign of other physical illness which you need to really check. There is a question, and then we go to Debrati. Corona has come to stay. How do we prepare our children realistically to adjust to the new normal? Good question. Though we are going to have a separate session for children, you want to answer Anita Lobo's question here. Swati Sharma's question we answered just now. Yeah. Anybody can start. How do you prepare your children for the new normal? Anshul, अपने हाथ ऊपर किया बताओ.
सर हमें सर आई ट्रूली बिलीव एंड यू आल्सो से कि
अरे
हमें
हिंदी में बोलो यार, थोड़ा हिंदी पंजाब की हिंदी सुनने दो यार.
तो सर हमें जो सर रियलिटी है सर, जैसे रोटी कपड़ा मकान इज इसेंशियल सर, आजकल न्यू रियलिटी है सर. सबसे पहले तो सैनिटाइजर के साथ जी रहे हैं सर. यू आई ट्रूली फॉलो यू सर. यू से देन सर हाथ को सैनिटाइज करके रखना है, जेब में रखो साबुन और रखो अपने और रखो अपने साथ मास्क. एंड यू नो जितना मर्जी बड़बड़ करते रहो, टीचर विल नॉट लिसन एंड यू डू व्हाटएवर यू वांट. So we should teach our children to sanitize their hands on the regular basis and not to touch the, if touch any of the surfaces, they should wash their hands regularly. And this is the new norm. They need to accept, and children sir, they have a capability, I think, to accept the things fast. uh, what is my suggestion, sir?
Anybody else? Yeah, Fabian, you're saying
Okay.
something?
I
Okay.
I'll
Devrati,
just take a minute.
Devrati. Yeah.
Okay, actually, this is I'm telling from my personal experience. As I can see, my daughter was about to go to high school in KG1, and she was in some tuitions also. She had a life, but now it is kind of gone. Means outside life. She's always inside for the last 2 months. So I can, though my child is a very happy child always, but then also the problem of irritability, all these things are coming. So what I am doing with her is, I'm trying to plan every day a new activity to make her surprised, or to give her some kind of uh, pleasure, some kind of happiness, like someday we are making a house together. Maybe that is with some mats and some towels like that, but that is giving her happiness. Someday with an umbrella, someday we are just putting colors on hands and putting them in the wall. Even that also I have done with her, on papers. So all these things, little things, makes children really happy. So this is not a time to push them for all the time you have to do your studies on time. Even my kid is also having online classes, but I never pressurize her ki, at a certain time you have to do. Whenever she feels good, I sit with her and do it like that. So I think this is something all can practice with their children.
Well,
Yeah.
yes,
Anybody else? Yeah.
yes.
Fabian,
There
and
was
then
there, Yes, there was a cheeky forward that was sent recently that first the mobile was not allowed to be taken to school. Now the school has come back into the mobile, right? So with the Zoom classes, etc., that's happening, I think realistically we will have to understand that our children will need gadgets, but supervision and control is something we can help them with. So we can't take away everything from them, balance it out. Moderation again is the name of the game. And children are bundle of energy, they're all bundles of energy, so we need to utilize that energy. I think parents have to play with their kids, and the family that plays together stays together. So we need to find board games, we need to do things like this. And think about it, I think this has become like that Jumanji game that was there. You just have to survive till the end of the game. Corona is lurking out and you need to survive. So we need to take time off with this. See family movies. We've been watching. I'm doing a complete re-education of sorts with my kids, seeing the Harry Potter movies. They're showing me one after the other and teaching me everything about Hogwarts. And that's how we help to bond closer. So take your pick and do things for the family together, involving the children.
Yes, yes, yes.
Sir, few things. Because when we say children, the age range is quite big. I have a 15-month-old son. If I put on the marks, he will start crying. So I cannot go with the marks down and take him for a stroll. So what we have done here, I'm sharing our experience in this campus, is we have children of different age range. The adolescents are slightly tougher to handle. I mean, it's quite natural. Their biology is changing. At this age is bound to be a little bit rebellious, not really listening to us, no, even if the parents are doctors. So they tend to bond with their peers. So this is also the time we felt, or rather we should be doing, is that acknowledge the common emotional trauma or the turmoils of an adolescent. And in this pandemic, the risk-taking behavior will come to them. So they might try to find source of information which may not be necessarily true. So the parents' role, because what I'm just sharing is the experience of other colleagues of mine, is just reborn with their children, or rather with the adolescent children, in a very different way, rather not being judgmental. Age old value system that हमारे परिवार में ये नहीं चलता, so this is what you are supposed to do, does not work. You are just going to distant away. And some of the techniques which we have used here, or rather we suggested we should do, is uh, how do you maintain a limited activity for children? Because when you don't take out, like children of Dr. Liberty's age group, 5 to 6 years, there's a nuclear war in the family. Papa, mujhe nikalna hai. I mean, they will start screaming, they will start shouting, and the social distancing has to be maintained. So, without an unwritten rule, we make it some sort of an agreement that let's take out our children at different times, because if one of us or some of us is a carrier, the virus is going to be there in the air for at least several hours. So we make sure that the time they go out is slightly different. There is enough distance maintained. So in a limited way, this is one way we have tried to teach them of the reality. But trying to convince my son to wear a mask, I have failed so far. If there are some ways to just make him not
Anshul,
frightened or
Anshul,
make
जरा
young children,
समझा.
Superhero masks, superhero masks.
because
I
the
think
moment
this is a very, yeah, go ahead, Sydney, if you have not finished.
because the moment there is a mask around, then children get a little bit frightened also. Why is everybody suddenly wearing a mask? Why are you not allowing me to meet with the buyer? Why can't I just ride on his bicycle like it was done in a month back? So that also becomes a little bit this one hard for the children to adapt. Eventually they do, but the initial few weeks were not so easy.
I know. I think there are three or four issues here. One thing I believe that fear is something you need to share. Anxiety travels faster than the coronavirus. So you need to talk to a
Yes.
counselor, otherwise you'll infect with anxiety the entire family. Also, what is also very important, children adapt very easily if you're smart. Adults don't adapt.
Mm.
Children adapt very easily. And it's also said that the simplest minds are the most profound. But But the shame among the parents that the children might not adapt, I'll be called a bad mother. My mother-in-law will say to me, "तू एक बच्ची को तो नहीं संभाल सकते हो, हमने चार चार को संभाला है." And
It's
and
true.
that and that's Simeon has heard these sentences himself, and that is something which has to break. So number one is there is no nuclear family in India. We are all joint family. Let me say this why. Well, it's a fact that Indians love to put their nose into every family. उसके family में क्या होता है इसका हमें बहुत बहुत interest है. So we are all joint families. So something so to you need to use all the resources around us. Every child has a place where he bends and bows. It could be the church, temple, priest, or it could be an uncle, it could be an aunt, it could be a neighboring aunt, it could be a maid, it could be a teacher, it could be. Every child has somewhere wo sunta hai. And parents need to understand that they can't be administrators in the house. They have to use the philosophy of Mahabharata, use the philosophy of management, how to get your child around. If you can't get the child to visualize the new classroom of tomorrow, then let somebody else do it for you. Let the neighbor do it, let the uncle do it, let the auntie do it on phone, on call, let the maid do it. So use resources because we are a joint family, we are not a nuclear family. Start preparing your child about unlocking immediately as Anshul showed four beautiful things. I also show that in my workshop. I show that. So tell them अभी क्लास में तेरे सब फ्रेंड्स नहीं आएंगे बेटा एक बेंच में एक in Maharashtra they announce no Fabian एक बेंच में एक बच्चा बैठेगा and let me tell you if you put that across to them very honestly most of them agree but then you have kids who have high risk people like me impulsive hyperactive ASD kids as somebody said Charles Pinto sir is asking something impact on pets my teacher Charles Pinto is the person who inspired me to take up psychiatry Charles Pinto and Professor Mundra so these kids need help, need a little special help. You need to give them methyl phenidate if required. You need to take the help of school teachers if required. So don't take that load as Hercules on your shoulders. The entire load of mera bachcha ka new now mere hath nahi yaar. It takes the whole village to raise the child. So trial and error, go up and down, and you'll find that your child will be somewhere in the middle. Don't make your child the perfect child in the classroom. The imperfect child is a normal child. The perfect child is a very meticulous, stoic, and an anxious child. So there are many ways. So ask people, talk to people, read, and find ways which is useful for your child. May not be useful for somebody else. But tell them new normal आने वाला है क्लासरूम में कम लोग होंगे बाहर सब जगह नहीं जा सकते हैं सब जगह खेल नहीं सकते धीरे धीरे नॉर्मल फिर से हो जाएगा और भूल जाएंगे we have forgotten a lot of things in the past we'll forget the coronavirus but after we learn the lessons of the coronavirus and one last story we need to discuss with Debarati Acharya from IIT Kharagpur psychologist from IIT Kharagpur I'm feeling low having a lot of sleep disturbances, fear that my boyfriend will leave me, sometimes thoughts of dying, thoughts of my troubled childhood sexual abuse by multiple family members, including stepfather. I call my boyfriend whole day, shout on him if he doesn't bring me back. I think I'm ruining my relationship. I think relationships are not for me. I'm afraid to go back to home in lockdown as I have to go back to them in extreme stress this thought comes to my mind that if I don't sleep, I will die. Sometimes feeling a lot of tension while in bed at night. Severity, how are you managing this student?
Yes, sir. This student I am seeing for few months. The main fear which she is having is fear of abandonment by anybody she loves. Presently, it was her boyfriend, and she was making the relationship so much suffocating that her boyfriend was about to leave her because it was not possible for him to take that all the time she is calling, all the time she is anxious that if she is not picking up the he is not picking up the phone, that means kuch hua hai, I mean he is not happy with me, ऐसा कुछ है तो we first talked about this thing, this sense of abandonment which she is having, which obviously has occurred because of her traumatic childhood memories, the the experiences which she had with her unfortunately with her maternal grandfather with her step father, that sexual abuse and all these things happened. So after that, this is happened ki initially she was in a relationship which was very much abusive. He used to beat her sometimes, and she was okay with it. So first we talked about that ki there, she was having a lot of guilt, that is maybe somewhere it is my fault that I didn't understand this is an abuse. But we discussed about these facts, that that time your child, it was not possible for you to understand what is abuse and what is fun, you don't know that. But now you are adult, you are able to understand cognitively that what is you should not permit to happen to yourself. So you have to come out of those kind of abusive relationship. So that guilt gradually with sessions became reduced. And then about this relationship, I suggested her to, all the anxieties whatever she is having, but she should restrict herself to call her boyfriend maybe 2 times a day, maybe 2 messages a day, but not more than that. She started to do that, and she got a very positive feedback from her boyfriend also. He became, more attached to her gradually. Even he also attended few sessions with me, some couple therapy sessions we had. And then the situation was better. Now when this lockdown happened, it was a situation that she was very much afraid with this outbreak. And she earlier also she had this thought of like if I don't sleep, she usually have sleep problems, so if I don't sleep then I will die. So what is happening that actually he is sleeping in the daytime, 6 7 hours of sleep she is having, but she is totally dismissing that part. She is saying okay, at night I cannot sleep, so that is a problem. So then we explained that, again, this sleep hygiene techniques, and you should have a as Sydney sir also said, that a fixed time to get out from the bed. So like that, your going to bed time also gradually will be a particular time. So like that, with that, some physical exercises, some breathing techniques I suggested, all these things now she is doing. What I learned from this case is that this student is having a lot of past history, but then also she is managing to have very good grades. She is having around 9 point something CGPA. So you can see that, academics is not getting hampered. She can very well compartmentalize these things, that, study time she can manage as well. But she has a lot of problem in interpersonal relationship. With that, she has a lot of zeal to cope, to learn how to live a good life. She also said that, I'm very much anxious about relationships, so I want to live alone, I want to be happy with myself. So how to do that? So we are also working on that. But still this sleep problem is there, which is a kind of challenge for me till now.
And we might have to work whether to use EMDR, NLP, neuro linguistic programming, to really repair the stories in the mind, which probably has resulted in poor self-esteem, and which has
Yes.
caused a lot of insecurity, clinging behavior with the boyfriend. So a lot of work left for you, Debrati. You might have to use different techniques with this girl, and you brought out so beautifully that human beings do not go equally in all areas. You may be academically extremely at the top, but you might still be broken in so many other areas. So the growth is unequal in all areas. And what is beautifully you said is we need to repair the other areas so that she becomes a wholesome human being at the process. But the fact that you're supporting her continuously shows your commitment and shows the beauty of your work. It's so tough to work with students all the time, and you need to really take a break from that also occasionally. But your persona and your commitment will take you through. Now let's answer questions. Unless all of you would want to have to add to help her to really take care of this student. She's answered that question beautifully. She's really working hard, but either of you, yeah, anybody can start. Fabian, you're putting your finger on your
I,
lips.
I,
Yeah.
I, I also use the 80-20 rule sometimes, that, 20% of the time we are using 80% of our shirts or whatever it is, there seems to be some 80-20 dynamics in us in our life. Now, if 80% of the time you're thinking about the boyfriend and other things, and that's not going very well, you're left with just 20% of a quality of life that's good enough. So, rearranging those priorities, helping yourself see other aspects of your life which needs attention, will rearrange that 80-20 principle and helping us to understand the here and the now of life. Debrati is doing a great job, and persistence will definitely pay.
Absolutely. And so many tools she may have to use for the child. Yes, Anshul and Sydney. Anshul ji, batao.
Nothing, sir. I have nothing to say.
Okay, okay.
Uh, just, I mean, sir, it's more of a suggestion because Devrati is doing so much good job. Me being a part of the legal team, something when you say sexual abuse, my just the red flag just comes. Uh, if she has been violated during her childhood, which has happened, as an adult, she can still fight for her legal rights, means getting the perpetrator punished. But whether she really wants to go about it or whether she would like to go further, that should be a choice which should be left to her. But as a mental health professional, we should also empower her to know what are her legal rights and what are the remedies that she can obtain. Because abuse is not acceptable, sexual abuse completely not at all, and this has happened in the home context.
This is a very good
Absolutely.
suggestion, sir. I will convey that to my student.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think a professional has to heal, but also has to look at advocacy issues and needs to balance and find where he or she can stand. And
Yeah.
sometimes when you are involved in healing, we forget the advocacy issues, and sometimes when we take the advocacy issues too far, we forget healing. So we need to really balance both. Paresh Shah is asking a beautiful question. The psychiatrist from Baroda, how to from Rajkot, how to keep away children, adolescents from smartphones, overuse, harm them, not willing to leave phone, many using till 2 a.m. I mean, we have answered this, but again, a few tips, quick few tips, one tip each. Anshul, yeah,
So the timing should be limited to till 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, and after that, the family time should be there, and they should on in between there should be some physical activity. The children should be kept busy. So and the usage should be fixed for like 3 to 4 to 5 hours maximum, and late night usage should be avoided. So otherwise, the sleep will be disturbed, and their next day performance will be disturbed.
absolutely. Fabian,
Yeah,
Kebarati, and Sydney.
I would always advocate tough love. I would tell the parents that tough love is important. Love your child, but not to the extent that the child becomes the parent and the parent becomes the child. So you have to have some sense of control, supervision, and monitoring. So tough love is important, and have a set of house rules. And it's best if we parents also follow the same house rules to for the children to emulate and to see us as role models. So that cutoff time would be better if the parent is also following the same for it. And probably yes, healthier alternatives. They need options. If they don't have options, then they go back to the mobile phone. So give them better options as well. We can't just have rules, we have to have healthier options for them as well.
Very true.
So
Sir,
this is some tip which people have shared over the net, also in some in the literature, and I think they are very practical. Practical in the sense that let's use the lockdown period to teach our children skills which we normally might not have this skills which we consider as कि ये हमारे ही नहीं है. I mean, when I am saying this statement, I am passing a very bad social connotation, but teaching them dignity of labor. So come on, let's go down, let's give the car a wash, let's clean the home, just pick up the zaru, help your mom to clean the vegetables. So these are some of the things which are they are basically life skills. They will test humility, easier said than done. So this has to come from the parents. Like Dr. Fabian is saying, you cannot just set up a rule and say that this is the rule for you. You have to follow. This rule does not apply on me. So it has to be practically implemented, and these are the things which people have done and they have found it useful. uh, a couple of friends who have never ever touched the car ever since they bought it because there is somebody to clean it. So when they were made to pull up the carpet, then they noted how much dust can collect. What are the things? The missing lipsticks which his wife was complaining, the chocolate which was there. I mean, those are the things which rediscover a lot of things while teaching them to those childs how
don't
to
go
address
too
to the
far. They may have found something more. This was
So I
a
think,
projective question. What you were thinking, I do not know.
so
Deepak, you want to say
Sir,
something? Sorry, sorry,
yes,
sorry.
yes, I want to add something here, sir. इतने सारे आंसर्स के बाद भी it is my experience that always parents at the end tell me कि आप कुछ भी कर लो, they won't listen to me. वो चिल्लाएंगे, वो रोएंगे, तो मुझे देना ही पड़ता है. तो ये जो है देयर आई वांट टू दिस इज अ वेरी एक्चुअली कॉमन क्वेश्चन एंड अर्लियर आई ओनली स्टडीड इन बुक्स नाउ आई एम implementing this on my child, so I can say very confidently that I have seen that suppose in a mobile my child is using for a long time. I would say this is our error that we are not giving some alternative good work to them. But when the child understand ki this is my time limit, as Anshul sir said, after that I'm not allowed. One day they will cry a lot, one day
Drawing
maybe they
boundaries.
will,
Yeah, absolutely.
yes, they will do
Absolutely. You're
torfor, but
correct.
ultimately she will that child will understand.
So very important to understand that you draw boundaries with little children. You also believe that exhaust the tantrum, don't interrupt one, and don't be afraid of the tantrum. That is what you
Of
said. But there's
course.
one more aspect which is very important, though this is an issue which can go on for 10 hours. Uh, Children who gravitate towards the net are also suffering from difficult problems in studies and problems with parents. So it's the best thing is to go on the net. Children who have LD, and other issues पढ़ाई marks नहीं आते समझ रहे बैठ जाओ नेट पे भूल जाते हैं सब and that I think has to be explored and younger children you can be firm because we need to be Indian parents not American parents we have to be firm with teenagers you have to go around them and if you cannot help them remember do not delay the visit to a friendly neighborhood psychologist. Uh, we have had a question that a lot of dietary things have gone wrong, and there's no mindfulness in what kids are doing in the at home. So people are getting bored and they're munching. The people who have diabetes and hypertension, they're munching. So they need to understand that controlling sugar and blood pressure improves immunity. So what do you have to say about that? Sapna Nair has asked the question.
To begin with, I think it is upon the lady of the house, the women of the house, to help inculcate a time schedule around which the whole house runs. So this would be our breakfast time, this would be our snack time, and still having healthy snacks we can have as salads. I know our resources are limited now, but even in our own houses, we've realized that we're eating too much out of a packet because that's easily available. So we switched over to boiling kabuli chana, the black chana that is there, monkey nuts, and having these as options, healthy options. We need to snack on sometime or the other, but snacking on something healthy would be a better option. And having your time
Absolutely.
zones outlined, having everybody help to follow those time zones.
Practicing mindfulness yoga helps you to really understand how much you need to eat. And what is very important is have nuts, chana, and singdana, not for the parents to pour thumbs up. It is for you guys. People do not pour thumbs up. And my dear advice for every Indian: this is a time to stay away from alcohol. If you stop drinking alcohol at this point of time, the liver will have a party with the stomach. The the liver will start dancing and saying, "I'm going to regenerate. I'm not going to be insulted and abused by ethyl alcohol. I'm happy." The stomach will be happier and will release the right amount of acid. And when the stomach, the other intestines, and the liver do a party, your immunity improves, your joy improves, your family life improves, and of course, your war against the corona will also be much better. And that I think is important. Charles Pinto, Professor Charles Pinto, one of the finest psychiatrists in the globe, and also my teacher, and Dr. Fabian's teacher too, says, what is the impact of corona on pets and the impact of pets on the
Impacts
family?
on family.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I'll
I
take
don't
this
have a pet,
question.
so yeah. Please, please, please.
Sir, this one, there has been conflicting reports about the impact of corona on pets. I mean, but Lancet has come up with an article. Rather, they have done a very extensive study. Pets can get corona from us or from any of the person. But it's a human to animal transmission is documented. But animal to human transmission has not been documented. So if you recall a few weeks back, people were just abandoning pets out of the fear. So I think we need to be very, very clear that if somebody needs to be protected, it is our pets, not us. because they are going to get it from us, not the other way. One thing which is also noted, even though we don't consider them as pets, the so-called stray dogs in the community, which some family will feed, they will not exactly adopt them, but they will give attention to them. Because there has been less human walking, they become a little bit more aggressive. This is something which we have also experienced it here. I'm not sure about other places.
and and people walking with masks, so
Yeah,
even more attacking.
yeah. So what
Thank
we
you.
need
I
to,
think we'll go to the next. Anshul, you're saying something?
No, no.
Next question. It's nice that children are getting parents' attention at home, but kids in early years want attention also when parents are working from home. With lockdown, parents have only one option, that is to work from home. How should parents balance work from home and paying attention to kids? That's a very common question asked in all webinars. Yeah, I'm sure it's a difficult question. I will not answer. You guys answer.
Share
Anybody can start.
responsibilities. In our house, we are lucky to have me, my wife, who's a teacher. My parents are there, my grandparents, so the children's grandparents. I think share responsibility. Like Harish Shetty sir said very truly, don't be the Lord Atlas and carry the entire load on your shoulders. Share responsibility. I think that gives an essence of variety for the children as well. So they have people shifting around in the focus of attention towards them. So share hands. Anything else that people would like to join in?
Yes, another thing
uh,
yes.
yes, please, Devrati.
Yeah, yeah, Devanati, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, another thing I want to add here, that even parents here, because I'm also doing this thing, that we also have to prioritize. It's not that when we are doing work from home, it sometimes it is happening that all the time we are in work through mobile, through laptop, and to those things. So we also forget boundaries. So we have to understand that a time limit I have to have. After that, I should have a fixed time for my child too, a quality time. That is not necessarily should be, the quantity needs to be very much, but the quality should be good. And that time I should give to my child after my work.
Uh, you want to say something, Anshul, or I had this question asked.
Sir, we need to maintain a balance between this personal and the time we spend with our children, sir. Like in the we can fix the morning hours for work, like for 5 to 6 hours we can work, and the time we are working we should not devote to our family but only work. And secondly, if we are working towards our family or towards our parents, we should not be talking about them with our work. What are the problems we are having work? We should discuss other positive things during this time, and we should love them, support them. And we should, if they are fond of playing, if we should play with them. We should watch comedy movies. It's the time to watch, like we watch in a theater. So this is the time actually, and we need to maintain a balance and play and
Absolutely.
and, and daily
what
play
I
and daily play
yeah,
a
go ahead.
new game with it.
What I have learned from my son, who's also working from home, and others, is that number one, companies are giving you more work because they feel that you are at home and you'll enjoy to
Yes,
काम ज़्यादा
that is
दे रहे हैं.
happening. That is
That's
happening.
happening. Colleges have received letters from the parents. बच्चा कुछ नहीं कर रहा है, तुम extra काम दो, and the principals and the deans are giving them extra courses. Do this course, do that course. Let me be very clear. First, when you're online, take care of your back and your spine. Take a break after every hour and do some musty inside us. Go and hug your mother or your husband or your wife. Go up and down and come back and do your work again. Number four is concentration and output has been low because people are not used to working from home. Tell your boss straight. This is what I can do. This is what I cannot do. Don't be scared of losing a job, because if you have protected your brain with 1,200 grams of brain tissue, which has billions of cells, and you keep it flying, sparkling, and firing, you will find a job in your life. If you're protecting your immunity and bringing the mind and the body in alignment, you will find a job. Tell your boss, I can do this, I cannot do anything more. Number four is in the morning, if it's the woman who's working from home, be democratic. Don't be a martyr, be a manager. Make everybody sit down and say, देखो इतना काम है, कौन क्या करेगा बताओ, मैं तो सब कुछ कर नहीं सकता हूँ. And women, stop being martyrs of being the best daughter, best daughter-in-law, best sister, best mother. Stop that nonsense. अपने जिंदगी के मोमबत्ती दोनों बाजू से मत जलाओ. Come down the horse, and then say, this is what I can do, this is what I cannot do. See, my dear friends, I have to earn for my family. This is the work I'm going to do. I may not be available to you from this time to this. After that, let's have a party. Be very clear to your family. Be very clear to your boss. Don't operate from fear. Protect your coconut 1200 grams and see that the mind and the body is aligned, because your life is not in your visiting card. Your name will be the same, but your address and your designations might change. So that is something people need to do. Don't work out of fear. Have the meal together, have the breakfast together, do extra work at times when you actually have to do. But remember, be honest how much you can do and how much you cannot do. That is something we need to say. A last question, and we'll slowly stop. Deepak Mehra, he's an executive in a pharmaceutical company, an Ayurvedic pharmaceutical company. He says it's stressful for adults as well as children to cope with such prolonged house arrest. Each one is mentally affected in a different way. This discussion has been enlightening how to stay mentally healthy. Thank you. So slowly as we come to a close, I need to pick your brains for the wisdom, not for the milk or the curds or the chas, but the ghee from the milk, essence from the milk. If I can ask you one question, which all of you will have to answer, if you can you tell the world who's listening, people from India, people from across the globe who are listening, what is it that people should do to prevent mental health casualties in the future? Every disaster has a physical casualty. The corona warriors would need a lot of mental health counseling. Those who have lost their loved ones and they have no closure because they may not have seen their bodies, they may not have gone for the cremation, would need a lot of support. All the policemen who have been working 24 by 7, shopkeepers, grocers, and all of those involved in corona activity, the ambulance staff will need a lot of support. I still see people who have been affected by the 92, 93 riots today. I still see people with PTSD after the bomb blast. I still see a lot of soldiers, ex-soldiers who have been affected in wars and in fighting terrorists. Mental health wounds are invisible. So, my dear friends, each one of you, the bright minds who have who have gathered together because of destiny, prarabdha, please tell the world what should they be doing day to day, what is the philosophy they need to have to prevent mental sequelae in their own lives, in their families. Anybody can start.
So, firstly, we need to set a routine for
Anshul, yes.
ourselves. Yeah. Firstly, we need to set a routine for ourselves, and we need to find in our inner self what is best in us. We need to find positive in us and focus on the hobbies. Like, I'm fond of dancing, I'll dance. I'm fond of singing, I'll sing. If I'm fond of
Harinakshi has said thanks to everybody. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, go
So
ahead.
if I'm fond of doing any kind of artistry work, I'll do it. I'll exercise daily, sir, because exercise will definitely, it releases endorphins which make a mind calm. And regarding the negativity, the news person who is not like who cannot accept any news, he should stop reading the news so as to have a healthy mind. Spend quality time with your family, balance between your family, with your parents, with your wife, with your children, and the most importantly need to have meals on time. Like ऐसा नहीं कि आप skip your breakfast and you skip this. You need to have a proper breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you need to move out of your to your balcony, and see you need to see the environment outside also for the betterment of the mind.
Uh, Fabian, Anita Lobo has only
Yes.
thanked Fabian Almeida. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I think positivity and persistence will help us win the battle. But beyond that, I've kept 4 A's that are important for us. It is time for all of us to increase our levels of awareness. Like Dr. Harish Shetty rightly said, the pandemic is coming and it's going to be bigger probably. And this pandemic is not about coronavirus, but it's about the mental health problems that will now unfold. So, awareness is key. That's the first thing to go through. Acceptance. We have to accept the situation. We cannot say all is well. We have to accept, wake up and smell the coffee. Then we need to adjust. And after learning to adjust, we begin to adapt. It's like that tight pair of jeans that we bring in. When we put it on, the jeans is beginning to adjust to us. and later on we begin to adapt to the shape of our body and the genes. So adaptation and adjustment will happen in sync, and all these four A's will help us through these difficult times: awareness, acceptance, adjustment, and adaptability.
Thank you, Fabian. Beautifully said, Anshul and Fabian. Yes, the wise psychologist,
Sir,
my dear friend from West Bengal, Devrati.
Yes, sir. I think I will talk about after 4 A's, 7 D's.
Oh.
This one
Yeah, go
is
ahead, go ahead.
one is discuss. That is, whenever you are feeling really exhausted, stressed, you discuss with your friends, with your family, what is going on in your mind. That really helps to get some others perspective, and that also helps us to reduce our anxiety. Another thing is distraction. That if I know that there are few things I cannot control, then what to do? I can distract myself, I can engage myself, something which I enjoy. That can be simply listening to music also. And another thing is delay. So sometimes something is happening which is unpleasant to me. So I can try to avoid the situation for the time being. Sometimes we use it in anger management also, that I'm angry, I want to react, but I just give a pause to it, and then after some time I am coming back to it. Then another D is deep breathing. Deep breathing exercise, I have talked about it. Another is distance. Not only, as Dr. Fabian has rightly said, that it is really not social distance. It is physical distancing, but it is, emotionally we have to connect. But what another thing we have to do it, sometimes we have to isolate our thoughts from our emotions. That we have to be the observer of our thoughts. That helps us to understand that what problem is going on in our mind. Another is drink a plenty of water. That really helps in every situation. And then the seventh and the last D is develop a plan. You should have a
I was
plan
I
for
was wondering I was wondering that you will say D for Daru. Develop a plan. Go ahead, go ahead. I'm just pulling your leg. Yeah.
Yes, actually, if I could have said this Daru, then my students will be very happy. But uh, and they are very proud that in this lockdown also they are able to manage wind. So that is happening anyway. But this develop a plan, which we say that yes, at least you should have, like to the first year students I have said कि 15 to 20 days का एक plan होना चाहिए आपके पास कि आगे आप क्या करना चाहते हो. If it is there, then probably you won't lose motivation, interest in doing your work. So this is it.
Thank you. I think we have acronyms, alliteration, and beautifully said all of y'all. And we're waiting for
Sydney.
Sydney Moirang Tham. And
sir,
am I correct now? Perfectly correct
yes,
now,
sir.
sir. Is
Perfect,
that
you
still
get
okay?
perfect. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Uh, so what I strongly believe is this one: the pandemic is going on. We are also aware of the another second pandemic, which is the mental health crisis, which is happening. This cannot be a role limited to only psychiatrists, psychologists, or a medical professional. The multiple stakeholders have to be involved. When the lockdown was happening in the beginning, we have seen a lot of messy stuff, a lot of unwanted things, a lot of hatred going around. So what I strongly believe is when we need to address the mental health, it should start with the trust building among all the stakeholders. You cannot victimize or you cannot penalize one particular party and say that this is this, this is that. We have gone past that one. It's not going to work. So when those fears are addressed, when those misgivings are addressed, then identifying this next set of symptom is going to be easy. The clinical part, like I will again quote Dr. This one, sorry, please bear with me. Dr. Pandyan's term that when comes to our clinic or to the health facility is just a tip. The greater part lies in the community. So proper education, reducing the stigma. When we say reduce the stigma, when we go to a community who may be hostile, who may have misgiving, they may not trust me entirely to do it. We have to find a key person whom they can relate with. When you are putting me on a quarantine, I'm a person, I got this infection by accident. So why are you punishing me is something which is going to come in the mind. So I would like to connect to the person in crisis rather than to a doctor or a physician. Yes, you are there to take care of me physically, but that emotional connect is the other person. So identifying those key persons in the community would help a long way in preventing a lot of mental health issues. Yes, things which cannot be managed, the so-called the clinical symptoms of anxiety, depression, that is for us to do. But we have to also rely on, or rather bank on, the other stakeholders, the police, the postal services, the cleaners. I mean, it is everybody's job. It is not just us. I mean, the whole community has to participate. And surely I think will win over. No epidemic or germ has been able to wipe out mankind. We'll overcome.
Absolutely. I think each one of you beautifully said. You brought out so many points, and when you put together, it looks so complete. And I would just like to add three things. I think this is the time to be aware of
Anshul,
yourself. You can
Anshul,
use whatever. Anshul, you're not finished. I forgot. Anshul,
Sir, I told.
he said no. He said. He said.
He
So
said,
what is important? You're saying something, Anshul? I
no,
stopped
No,
you.
no, thank no, no. I said I completely. I said,
yes,
sir.
Okay,
yes,
okay.
yes.
Yeah, I said awareness, being in touch with yourself, use whatever method you can do, tasbih, rosary, yoga, Sudarshan Kriya, Shambhavi Mahamudra, do what you like. But I think awareness is extremely important. There's a lot of compassion coming out during this uh, disaster. Let that compassion continue, because what happens is once you go to a funeral, on the next day you forget what happened and you're back to your old games. So this time, let the compassion continue across mankind. The third most important thing is globalization has disconnected us, but Corona has again reconnected us. Let's strengthen our bonds inside the family, in our communities. Let's keep all our ideological differences aside and work towards one goal. And if things go wrong, see a psychologist or a psychiatrist and not an astrologist. With this, I would like to thank each one of you, Fabian, for your points, Takatak, Anshul, for your broader understanding of that entire subject, Devarati, for your experience with students all the time, and as a psychologist, you brought out the psychological flavor of healing and understanding problems. And my friend Sydney Moirang Them has vast experience of cultural wisdom of the country. He's a man who blends science and art, and I think beautifully said. We all complemented each other, and I think it was wonderful. I would like to remind the audience that whether we like it or not, panic attacks are going to increase. Whether we like it or not, there'll be phobia. There can be social phobias, fears in a sizable number of people, and other issues. Let's look at them very compassionately. Let's not dismiss them at all, and let's see that they all are brought to help seeking agencies where they can be healed and treated. With this, I would also say that we may not have answered all the questions because it's so difficult to answer. There has been a flood of questions, our Anirudh Kapatnikar have been saying, but we'll try and address it as and when we can. We do meet again. This is not the last mental health webinar. It is one of the first mental webinars, and we will meet you again and again. With this, I would thank Anirudh Kapatnikar from 1MD for holding this and bringing us together, for assisting us in our technical glitches. We are not very smart at all this, but he's really helped us, and he's been with us all throughout. And I would like to tell Anshul that Dr. Gupta also said it was a good session. By the way, all of us are not aware whom I'm referring to. Anshul, you can share whom I was referring to.
Sir was referring to Dr. Rajiv Gupta. He's my father actually. He's a renowned psychiatrist. So I'm following.
good.
Okay.
He is a wonderful psychiatrist, his father, and his brother also is a psychiatrist. Am I right, Anshul?
Wow,
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
wow,
yeah,
wow.
yeah. So thank you all. Thank you all. Yeah, Anirudh.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It has been an honor working with you, and I find the session really
And it's an
informative.
honor to work with you all. I learned a lot today.
Pleasure to be
I learned
together.
D's, 7 Ds,
Yeah.
and 4 A's. Yeah.
No, sir, thank you
And the
so
last
much
Thank you,
for
everyone.
giving us this
I was
opportunity.
hoping that it will be Daru. I was just hoping, but instead,
So I have a request.
Somebody mentioned
Yeah.
somebody mentioned it's drink, but drink water. Somebody mentioned that in the
So I have a request.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the audience wants some of the numbers for a helpline. I have in
Yeah.
our chat column.
Anita
I have,
Lobo. Anita
yeah.
Lobo. So what will do? You have it,
We'll
Sidney?
share that.
Yes, I just sent it. So we have an enhanced COVID helpline. So in the beginning, we used to take around 3,000 calls a day, which is reduced to around 300 because the things are decreasing. So these helpline numbers are available 24/7. So anybody
It
required,
is there on the net. It's there on the net.
Yes.
yeah, I haven't even
We
shared
have,
it here, sir.
we have Hitkuch
Fabian,
also from KM.
we can do one thing.
KM.
If you can
Yes.
make a list of all the helplines, Anirudh,
Yes.
while the video
I'm
is
just
shared,
posting
you
them.
can put
I'm just posting them
you
right
can
now.
put
They
it
will be
there.
available immediately
There
right
is,
now.
yes, there is Hitkuch from KM, and there is an IPS task force that has the complete all over India helplines that are there also.
No,
So
you
we'll
know
provide you
what,
with that.
Fabian, we have to be very careful. Most of the helplines don't work. So you have to give
Okay.
helplines which are
Which work?
active, which work.
Sure,
Most of
sure.
the helplines don't work.
Hitkuch works.
So
Madam
Nimhen's
Parker.
helplines have been posted in the
Yeah,
comments box.
that's the
Anyone wants
BMC
to-
Yeah.
helpline is working.
Can you please post the other one also, the COVID helpline
Yes,
Yeah,
also?
yeah,
yes. We have
yeah,
put
yeah.
both. So here, this
Thank
is
you
the one
guys.
for forward.
All the
Thank
best.
you. Everyone.
Have your
Thank
dinner
you,
Thank you.
sir.
and say hi to all your families.
Sure,
And
sir.
we're going to send these videos to a lot of people, to you guys also, so that we can share it with
Yes,
others.
yes, yes.
Thank you.
And
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
thank
Thank
you,
you so much,
Anirudh,
sir.
also
Yeah.
for the
Thank you.
Thank
smooth
you so much.
functioning of
Thank you,
everything.
Thank you,
Anirudh.
Fabian. Thank you.
Good
Bye.
night, everyone.
Good
Have a
night.
nice time.
Good night,
Good
Bye.
night.
Signing off from Bangalore.
Bye,
Bye.
Sydney. Take
Bye,
care.
sir.
Signing
Bye,
from
sir.
Good
Viman,
night,
signing from
Shebra.
Punjab,
Bye.
Ludhiana,
Good
signing
night.
from Kalyan.